We'll go ahead and call our Thursday, March 13th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting to order and start. We should probably approve our agenda, so we'll look for a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the agenda as presented.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll start right into North Shore Waste. Variance request 2025-6V. Eva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a variance request for relief brought forward by North Shore Waste from the Cook County Zoning Ordinance, Section 4.19 and 8.04, to allow the proposed North Shore Waste Transfer Station to exceed the maximum height requirement, where a maximum height of 35 feet is required in the Light Industrial Zone District within the North Shore Management Zone located at 44 Chippewa Cemetery Trail. The applicant's property includes 10.87 acres. The parcel is entirely within the Light Industrial Zone District, and newly created lots within that zone district must be 2 acres in size and 200 feet wide, and this property is within the North Shore Management Zone. The variance is requesting relief from the maximum building height requirement of 35 feet to allow the proposed solid waste transfer station to be granted additional height to accommodate the functional needs of this type of facility. The state of Minnesota outlines certain requirements for solid waste transfer stations, which includes provisions requiring certain height requirements for the overhead door and structural depth of the roof systems and operations. The proposed facility will house waste collection and transfer station operations for the county. In the packets, I included the ordinance requirements for Section 4.19 for the Light Industrial Zone District, as well as provisions for the purposes of that zone district. For background, the development of this facility will include a lease agreement between the county and North Shore Waste. The land immediately north of the subject property is public land and undeveloped. Other surrounding land uses are aligned with the light industrial zoning of the area. As you can see in the site plans provided by the applicant, the maximum roof height as measured from average grade is 42 feet in elevation. From the actual grade at that location, the maximum height could be 48 feet from the actual ground surface. But for how we measure building height as outlined in the zoning ordinance, our definition would be a 42-foot variance relief is needed. For site conditions and considerations, as was mentioned in the Planning Commission conditional use permit hearing previously, plans do indicate that a new septic will be installed to serve the property, that the property will have a stormwater plan and infrastructure to treat stormwater runoff. There will be wetlands on the property, but that's not an issue driving the need for the variance. And the property is sloped, so the height calculation does take into account the surrounding topography when determining that building height allowance. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on February 21st, 2025. 12 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments and the DNR hydrologist. When we mailed out the adjacent owners notices, we did not receive any written correspondence from anyone as far as adjacent property owners go. The environmental health officer did provide a memo indicating that he has not yet received a septic design for the septic system. And for staff consideration for facts and findings, variances are reviewed based off of the state standards outlined in Minnesota state rules and the Cook County Zoning Ordinance. And those questions are as follows. The variance is consistent with the goals and policies of the Comprehensive Land Use Guide Plan and in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Cook County Zoning Ordinance and other official county controls. Proposed findings that this project has been supported by the county to address the management of solid waste in the county. The proposed use of the property is allowed in the land use district in which the property is located. Proposed findings that the parcel is zoned light industrial. The facility will also be requesting a conditional use permit through the Cook County Planning Commission. Next question, the property owner is proposing a use in a reasonable manner not permitted by the Cook County Zoning Ordinance. It is reasonable to request a height variance for a facility such as this, which has a certain state requirements for its facility operations and design. State rules take priority over local zoning standards. Next question, the property owner has established that the practical difficulty involved is due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. My finding is that the variance has provided the information from the state regulations for these types of facilities that identifies the building requirements necessitating the need for the variance. Minnesota State Code 7035.2870 outlines certain height requirements for a permitted transfer facility. The facility is designed to meet the state outlined minimum height requirements. State rules take priority over local zoning standards. Next question, approving the variance maintain the essential character of the locality. This is an industrial area and the height variance is unlikely to alter the essential character of the locality. The current North Shore Waste facility is across the road. And last question, the property owner has established that practical difficulty involves more than economic considerations alone. Economic considerations are not the reason for the variance request. Staff recommendation for consideration, this variance request seems reasonable for the scope and purpose of the proposed facility, which will serve the county's solid waste management needs. The conditional use permit, which outlines conditions of approval for the facility as well. A condition of approval for the variance could consider vegetative buffers. However, given the industrial zoning and use of the surrounding landscape and minimal public comments addressing this variance, this may not be deemed necessary by the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, Neva. Again, if you'd like to add anything to the request, state name and address again for the record.
Yeah, Dustin Hanson, 5774 East Highway 61 in Hoveland. Again, I don't really have a lot of comments. I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and open to the public if anyone wishes to speak on this variance request. Hearing none, we will close it to the public and discuss it as a board. Brad?
Yeah, so going through and reviewing the packages, the state requirement being one right off the bat, but the second component is if you look at a transfer station or lifting the truck on the inside, they need the ceiling height. It's clear cut to be able to dump the truck. So I'm in favor of this as presented with the staff observations about compliance with the county goals, and then recommendation for consideration. I've been up in that area quite a few times. I don't know that we have anything to add in terms of vegetation and so forth. I think, we go back to the conditional use permit. The stormwater runoff plan is probably the most important thing that they're going to be doing.
Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I think the need for the variance is well documented and straightforward.
My boxes are all checked.
Jeff?
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious, this is between 3 and 4 stories. Is there there's not really a comparable building in Grand Marais, unless the new MnDOT building. Do we know how tall that is?
I don't. We just double checked that was in city limits and not county zoning.
Yeah, I'm just
so.
trying to get a perspective, because I
Yeah.
mean, granted, it, like Brad said, we have to do it. I did get asked this question by somebody, how tall is this thing gonna be? And I said, well, 48 feet, but yeah. And it is set back from the highway ways, so it'll be an interesting, if you can actually see it when you're coming in and out of town on 61 or not, so. But yeah, I think this is a no-brainer, so to speak.
Are we comfortable just concurring with staff's findings of fact, or do we want to go through it all?
I'm comfortable.
I am.
I'd make a motion to approve. Do we want conditions as staff recommended? Or we don't need those?
I don't think we actually had any
Yeah.
proposed.
The vegetative brother.
Not specifically. I would make a motion that we approve accepting staff's findings of fact, and then respect to state regulations and the obvious requirements for the building height in order to make the solid waste transfer station effective.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? We'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Your variance
Thank you.
passes. Motion to adjourn.
Is that the fastest you've ever had?
And motion to adjourn.
Second.
We've got plenty of those.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye. Don't fight, don't fight.
4:30. Called it.
You have one table for the Holden one?